Welcome, everyone, to English BookCast.
Great to be here.
Today, we're diving deep into a really fascinating piece. The Black Pope, Intrigue and Power by Ernesto Mezzabotta.
It's quite the ride, isn't it? Throws you right into 16th century Europe.
Absolutely. A time, just packed with political scheming, religious tension, and, well, a whole lot of personal ambition.
Definitely. And Mezzabotta captures that intense atmosphere, especially the complex relationships in France and Italy.
Yeah, we'll be looking at some key excerpts today. Expect some pretty dramatic interactions, betrayals.
And the sheer influence of religious orders, particularly the Jesuits, woven through everything.
Exactly. So settle in for that. And hey, if you enjoy these kinds of discussions, please do think about joining the English BookCast channel and maybe share the videos. It really helps us grow.
It does indeed.
Okay, so let's get started. Where do we begin with this web of intrigue?
Well, that first encounter with Diana de Saint Vallier is quite something, isn't it? Her approaching King Henry for her father.
It really is. She's appealing for the Count of Saint Vallier, who got tangled up in that business with the Constable de Bourgon's escape.
Right. And it's not just a daughter pleading. You can see the calculation, the awareness of court politics. It's brave, especially for a woman in that era.
You really sense the danger.
Yeah.
And then the Dauphin, the future Henry II, he sees this interaction between Diana and his father.
And immediately jumps to jealousy and suspicion. Classic court rivalry. Who's influencing the king?
It speaks volumes, yeah. But Diana handles it with such dignity.
She does. And then, almost immediately, she marries the Count of Brizay. A strategic move, perhaps?
Feels like it. Solidifying her position, maybe. Protecting herself.
Quite possibly. And the Dauphin's reaction later, that passionate apology to her, it just highlights the raw emotion simmering under the surface. These weren't just political games. Lives and reputations were on the line.
Intense stuff. And then, right after this very personal, very political drama, Father Lefebvre arrives.
For Diana's spiritual conference,
Yeah.
supposedly.
Right. And that juxtaposition is key, isn't it? Politics, personal passion, and then boom, religious authority walks in the room.
It shows how intertwined it all was. Religion wasn't separate. It was a major player in the day-to-day power struggles.
Okay, let's pivot slightly because the next section really dials up the darkness. We meet the Duke of Montmorency.
And his, let's say, efficient prevost, Conrado.
Efficient is one word for it. The text notes Conrado's authority to carry out executions in the king's name is, well, questionable.
Which immediately flags Montmorency's power. He's operating almost like a king in his own right, using this provost figure.
And his admiration for Clovis, a notoriously brutal historical figure that tells you a lot about Montmorency himself.
It really does. He clearly values ruthlessness as a tool. We see it in his conversation with Conrado about that prisoner.
Yeah, the prisoner who's defiant, cursing Montmorency even while chained up.
And Montmorency's frustration. It's almost petulant. He's annoyed the prisoner hasn't used the dagger or the supposed poison he left.
It's bizarre. He wants the man dead, but won't do it himself because he swore an oath to the king not to personally kill him.
Right. It's this twisted logic, finding loopholes in his own morality. Orchestrating death is fine. Just don't get your own hands dirty.
Shows the kind of hypocrisy that comes with that much power, maybe.
I think so. And then they go down into the dungeons.
Yeah.
The description is grim.
You hear the cries of other prisoners, like Domingos, the husband of Pierina, the milkmaid, locked up on the orders of Montmorency's son, Damville. It's systemic cruelty.
Absolutely. And Montmorency's plan for the defiant prisoner, Virginio, it's pure psychological torture.
Threatening his son, Charles. Hitting him where it hurts most.
Virginio's breakdown, pleading for his son. It's harrowing. It just shows the human cost of this kind of unchecked, brutal authority.
A really bleak picture of justice under Montmorency.
But even he, you notice, initially needed some kind of royal nod, however flimsy the pretext, to imprison Virginio in the first place. Royal authority still mattered, even if it could be bent.
Okay, so let's shift back to the king's court. The Marquis de Beaunois arrives.
Urgently requesting an audience with King Francis I.
And the text makes a point of their close friendship and how Beaumanoir hates asking for favors. So you know this is serious.
He's not just asking for himself either. He mentions their fraternity of companions in arms and frames it as being about the king's honor, even his soul.
That adds weight, definitely. And King Francis seems genuinely warm at first, even offers to repay Beaumanoir for saving his life once.
Shows the importance of those personal bonds. But then
Charles de Poix walks in, the son of the imprisoned Count Virginio.
And the mood just plummets. The king's whole demeanor changes.
Instantly. You see how politically charged Virginio's imprisonment is, this alleged conspiracy. It's a minefield.
And Charles doesn't back down. He passionately denies his father's guilt, demands a fair trial. He's challenging the king, really.
Francis pulls rank, basically saying the royal will is above the courts.
But it feels a bit shaky, doesn't it? Like he knows it's complicated.
And right at this crucial moment, Father Lefebvre pops up again. Secretly this time.
Meeting with Diana, the Countess of Prizé, and his message is blunt.
He warns her Beaumanoir is an enemy of Montmorency and an enemy of the Jesuit order.
This is where you really see the hidden hand. Lefebvre isn't advising, he's commanding.
He tells her, flat out, to convince the king to refuse Beaumanoir's request to release Virginio.
And that line, obedience, madame, chilling. It shows the absolute power the order expected.
So religion isn't just influencing, it's actively directing political outcomes at the highest level.
Precisely. It's a key dynamic of the whole period.
Which leads us right into that tense meeting. King Francis, Beaumanoir, and Charles de Poix.
Beaumanoir pleads again, appealing to justice, compassion.
But Francis is stuck, defending the imprisonment based on Montmorency's story of conspiracy.
And Charles just cuts through it. He demands proof, challenges the king directly. It takes guts.
Francis sort of compromises, agrees to a trial. If the count is found innocent later, he'll get favors.
Yeah, it feels weak. And Charles's reaction tells you everything. Beaumanoir is grateful, emotional, but Charles, skeptical, almost disdainful.
He doesn't trust it for a second, does he?
Not at all. He knows his father's in Montmorency's dungeons now. A promise of a future trial under who knows what conditions. It means nothing. He wants his father out.
And you can't blame him, given what we know about Montmorency.
Exactly. His skepticism is completely warranted.
So then we get insight into the king's mind. He's recalling Montmorency's story, finding Virginio with his wife.
The classic wronged husband defense. And Francis bought it initially.
Even Diana, prompted by Lefebvre, we assume, backed up Montmorency's version.
It shows how easily narratives could be controlled at court. Montmorency spins a story, gets an influential ally to confirm it.
But the king starts having doubts. He suspects the cruelty is excessive, prolonged, that he's becoming complicit.
That's a key shift. Diana pushes back hard, though, defending Montmorency, even painting the torture as some kind of merciful alternative to execution for adultery.
It's twisted logic, and Francis counters by remembering his own time as a prisoner under Charles V. He knows captivity isn't gilded.
That personal experience cuts through Diana's spin. But then she plays her trump card.
Heresy. She accuses Beaumanoir of being a heretic.
Which, in that time, with the Inquisition breathing down everyone's necks, was like dropping a bomb.
Absolutely a devastating charge. Reputation, life, everything's on the line.
And the accusations are specific, though likely fabricated. Associating with Huguenots, stopping Dominican preachers. Classic smear tactics.
Slander enough, something will stick, right? And it works. Francis is immediately alarmed, angry.
Just as Montmorency conveniently arrives. Perfect timing.
He defends himself, admits maybe he withheld some pleasures from Virginio, but insists he spared his life.
The king still doesn't like the slow torment aspect, but Montmorency plays the victim again. He's suffered for 5 years because of this offense.
And demands the king stay out of his private justice. The arrogance.
Diana piles on, calling Beaumanoir a heretic and traitor again. Montmorency backs her demand for a royal letter approving his actions. It's a pincer movement.
Francis hesitates. He remembers his promise to Beaumanoir.
But Diana hits him with more Jesuitical logic. Promises to heretics don't count. The church grants dispensations.
So convenient. And Francis caves. He agrees to write the letter.
You see that secret look pass between Diana and Montmorency? Alliance confirmed. Victory achieved.
And the letter itself. It's shocking. It basically gives Montmorency a blank check, approves everything he's done to Virginio, overrides any laws against it.
It's the complete corruption of justice, all driven by manipulation and fear. It really sets the stage for a confrontation.
Yeah, inevitably. Beaumanoir and Charles turn up at Montmorency's palace. The tension must have been incredible.
Beaumanoir urges Charles to keep his cool, but you can tell Charles is ice cold with resolve.
Montmorency receives them politely, but you know it's all surface.
Beaumanoir mentions the king's supposed change of heart, maybe trying to test the waters.
But the real game changer is Domingo's finding that key in Montmorency's pocket.
That flash of hatred in Montmorency's eyes tells you how crucial that key is.
And bam. They use his own key to free Count Virginio. Talk about poetic justice.
Virginio immediately confronts Montmorency, accuses him of mocking God. It's powerful.
And Montmorency just crumples, the terror as they strip him, prepare the shackles.
His pleas for mercy are pathetic compared to his earlier cruelty. Charles justifies that they have to stop his future tyranny.
They shackle him securely. And then that symbolic moment, dressing Virginio in Montmorency's own clothes and armor after trimming his beard.
Restoring his dignity, marking the power shift. Montmorency is left pleading in the dungeon as they walk out.
A complete reversal, a consequence of his own brutality finally catching up with him.
Definitely. It shows how unstable power built on cruelty can be.
Okay, switching gears a bit. We get Father Lefebvre explaining himself to the young page, Tancredo.
About why he placed Tancredo near Diana d'Étampes, the king's influential mistress.
His justification is, well, classic Jesuitical reasoning, isn't it?
Absolutely. Choosing the lesser of two evils for the greater glory of God. He claims he was protecting Tancredo, trying to guide Diana's passions.
It sounds so noble on the surface, but Domingo's eavesdropping nails it. The end justifies the means.
Right. And Count Virginio hears this and is distressed, recognizing how this kind of thinking can corrode honesty and loyalty.
Lefebvre actually expects Tancredo to be grateful and hopes the page can lead Diana to virtue. It seems absurdly naive, or maybe just manipulative.
Probably the latter. And Tancredo's reaction is telling. He's enthusiastic at first, but you see how the logic starts to warp his own morality.
Like finding it totally normal for a priest to facilitate an affair if it serves some supposed higher purpose.
It's insidious. And Lefebvre keeps pressing Tancredo for details about the Dauphin, the Countess, still trying to gather intelligence, still manipulating.
Creepy. Okay, then a really strange scene. A man locked in a convent cell.
In a rage, restrained, but still looking somehow noble.
The prior visits, tries to reason with him, but the man insists.
He's King Francis I.
Clearly delusional, you think. The prior is compassionate, explains finding him unconscious, bringing him here. Seems straightforward.
But then the prior drops the bombshell. The real King Francis is dead. His body is lying in state.
Imagine hearing that when you know you're the king. The shock, the despair.
The prior produces a letter. Proof, apparently. This man is Maturino Grange, a monastery servant prone to these delusions.
The letter asks for Mentorino back. It seems there's irrefutable evidence. The man is totally confused, lost.
It's a powerful moment of psychological manipulation casting doubt on identity itself.
But then, the shocker, back at the Louvre Palace.
Astonishment. Because King Francis I, the one presumed dead, just walks in.
Right as his son, Henry II, is about to launch a crackdown on Protestants. The timing is incredible.
And his first thought, resistance. Get rid of this resurrected claimant. Shows his own ruthlessness.
But he sees the reaction of the court, the fear, the loyalty Francis still commands, and switches gears instantly.
Pragmatism wins. He greets his father with fake enthusiasm.
But Francis knows. That menacing look. He knows about the drugs, the tomb, the convent imprisonment. He knows Henry betrayed him.
And he acts immediately. Publicly names Beaumanoir the new Grand Constable, Poy the Captain of Guards. Montmorency is out.
Sends shockwaves through the court. Fear. The old order is back, and it's angry.
And Francis locks the place down, secures the gates, countermands Henry's attempt to give the order. He's firmly back in control.
A masterful reclaiming of power, but it sets up the next big confrontation.
With the Jesuits. Ignatius of Loyola himself steps forward.
And he basically says, yes, the ends justify the means, even bloody ones, but King, you missed the point.
He gives this analysis. Royalty is losing its mystique. People see kings as just men now, thanks to new ideas spreading.
So his solution? Terror. Keep power through harsh punishments, ally closely with the clergy.
And suppress all scandals, especially royal family ones like Henry, trying to kill his own father. Deal with those secretly. Poison, not swords, to avoid gossip.
It's unbelievably cynical. Rulers aren't bound by normal rules. A king's sin can be meritorious if it serves salvation.
And who judges if it's meritorious? We, says Ignatius, the Jesuit order.
The sheer arrogance. He claims the noble swords are useless now against commoners' guns, so kings need the Jesuits, who control the common people's minds.
It's an incredible power play, a direct challenge.
Francis threatens torture. Get the Jesuit general on the rack.
But Ignatius is unfazed. He recounts tying weights to his own injured leg for over a month, basically asks, you think your torture can break me?
And Francis, he's awestruck, defeated in that moment. He bows his head.
Ignatius presses his advantage, demands the king's help against heresy, lays out his terms.
First condition, forget everything. Restore Henry, Montmorency, Diana de Poitiers, all the traitors, back to favor.
Utterly humiliating for Francis. But he needs the Jesuit support. He agrees.
Second, Purge the Huguenots. Use the Inquisition. Full persecution.
He pauses about those not openly declared heretics yet, hinting at deeper surveillance.
Francis balks at sacrificing loyal friends like Beaumanoir.
Ignatius softens slightly. Keep them as friends, use their services as long as they don't publicly offend religion, which the Jesuits will judge, presumably.
Francis is relieved, relatively speaking. He nods agreement to everything.
Henry immediately makes nice with his father, renewing loyalty oaths. It's all political theater now.
And Francis orders secrecy, remembering the Jesuits' advice, no scandals.
A total capitulation, really. The Jesuits are now dictating terms to the King of France.
Okay, let's shift to Italy now. Cardinal Santaseverina, he's in financial trouble.
Selling his carriages. His servant is distraught, but the cardinal seems resigned, dignified even.
Then Father Eusebio arrives from Catalonia, described as looking like an inquisitor, sinister vibe.
The cardinal receives him politely, though, unlike some newly rich figures might.
Eusebio is respectful but assertive. He asks if the cardinal can listen calmly, noticing his agitation, very observant.
Then he presents that ivory crucifix, incredibly detailed, showing Christ's suffering, linked explicitly to the Spanish Inquisition's terrors. It's unsettling.
The cardinal is stunned, admires the art, the raw emotion.
Eusebio offers to buy it for a high price, but then refuses the cardinal's IOU, a pointed reminder of his financial ruin.
He knows everything. The cardinal refuses help, stands on his pride.
Eusebio asks, even a savior, hinting he might be one. He knows about the failed deal with Cardinal de' Medici, the unacceptable terms. His intelligence network is vast.
He positions himself as the cardinal's potential rescuer, linking it all to the upcoming papal election, since Pope Pius IV is ill.
He flatters Santaseverina, you're the one everyone expects to restore the papacy's grandeur, lead the crusade against Protestants.
The cardinal is surprised, but you can tell he's pleased. Ambition is stirred.
Eusebio claims other cardinals fear him, want his ruin. Standard tactic. Isolate and make dependent. He promises support, despite his own apparent lack of status, because he represents
the Jesuits, presumably, or Spain, or both.
Exactly, laying the groundwork for a bargain.
Meanwhile, Anna Borgia. She's furious with her servant Ramiro for warning her about danger and unrest in Rome.
She's incredibly arrogant, thinks that people adore her. Ramiro is loyal, scared for his soul, but devoted to the family.
Anna dismisses his fears, but clearly relies on him, and casually mentions some prisoner is content and well-fed. Chillingly nonchalant.
Then Carlos Feraldo. He's with Anna, feeling disoriented, suspicious, remembering a silver vase, a death threat.
He sees her poison his drink. Quick thinking, he feigns acceptance, then demands they swap cups.
Anna refuses. Perturbed, he accuses her. You want to poison me like Darman.
She flies into a rage, tries to call guards. He stabs her hand, she faints. Desperate move.
He knows he has to run. Hides the dagger, grabs his cloak, escapes the room, finds Ramiro asleep next door. Cliffhanger.
Where does he go? To a Jesuit house, seeking sanctuary.
Meets a high-ranking superior. Intelligent, dignified. Superior surprised to see a layman so late.
But the text notes the Jesuits have agents everywhere, offering influence, protection. They have reach.
The superior welcomes Carlos, sees it as a chance to save a soul. Carlos asks for sanctuary, a life of prayer, away from danger. The superior notes shrewdly, this vocation is very recent. Carlos feels uneasy. He's trapped, maybe.
Back to Cardinal Santaseverina. He's finding solace in that crucifix, weeping before it. Very vulnerable.
Contrasted with Cardinal de' Medici's servant thinking he'll be the saintly pope. Shows the different perceptions.
Santaseverina enters the tribunal, exhausted but dignified. Francisco Burlamacchi is brought before him.
Burlamacchi looks worn down by hardship, but still has dignity. He denies heresy, denies criticizing the pope's authority, specifically rejects Calvin.
Santaseverina seems impressed by his directness. He relates to this, maybe.
But then the blow. Burlamacchi is accused by his own friend, Monsignor Scardoni. Painful betrayal.
Highlights the treacherous nature of these religious political courts. Friends turn on friends.
Loyalty means little when power or doctrine is at stake.
Then, the dying Pope Pius V summons Santaseverina.
He's worried about factions, religious orders taking over after his death. He pleads with Santaseverina. Be just. Don't be a slave to any group.
The Pope regrets not always being able to do good. Constraints of power. Then he asks the crucial question.
Are you bound to any pacts? To the Jesuits.
Santaseverina's suppressed cry says it all. Yes.
Pope Pius warns him. The Jesuits are formidable. Pay off your debts to them, stay superior, annul any bad promises, suppress them if they disobey.
He urges Santa Severina to liberate the church from this black tyranny. He predicts Santa Severina will be pope, gives him courage, warns him about Spain too.
Santa Severina promises firmly to obey. He leaves with a heavy burden, but maybe a sense of purpose.
Then Father Eusebio reappears, visiting Anna Borgia.
Anna sizes him up instantly, knows a Jesuit envoy from the King of Spain carries immense weight.
After some cautious circling, Eusebio gets to the point. His message is about poisons, and it concerns her more than Spain.
The demand? She must arrange the poisoning of Cardinal Santa Severina before he can be elected pope. He's a threat to Spain and to the Jesuits.
Anna resists. It's too dangerous. She could be discovered.
Eusebio uses veiled threats. We have evidence against you. Torture is possible. We've dealt with princes before, leaving her no choice.
His plan. She should request confession from the cardinal to get access.
Anna recoils. Confess her madness to him. But Eusebio insists. Use what you know. Gain his trust. Reminds her she confessed to him.
He predicts the cardinal will be fascinated by her dark revelations, his artistic side drawn to her story, a cynical manipulation of character. Anna agrees, sorrowfully. She's trapped.
Eusebio promises full Jesuit support men, money if she complies. Her power will grow, obstacles removed.
As he leaves, she desperately asks about Carlos Feraldo. Eusebio smiles knowingly. Does she want him delivered to her? Chilling.
Puts Anna in an impossible bind. The Jesuits offer support, but demand murder.
We see Anna contemplating that letter demanding Feraldo's death. The Marquis thinks she has a right to revenge.
Cardinal Santa Severina visits. He has fleeting suspicions about her, remembering her confessions but dismisses them. Rationalizes her past, maybe blinded by affection.
The scene is formal, but Anna receives him with genuine love, it seems, not her usual games.
The cardinal is overcome, falls at her feet, passionate.
Anna pours him wine, eyes full of happiness, passion, but then tears.
She says he is the cause. Declares her love for Enrique. Says she trusts him enough that she wouldn't have stopped him bringing guards. It feels real.
So the Jesuits offer her a deal. Feraldo lives. They support her if she poisons the cardinal. They frame it as revenge.
The alternative, Jesuit vengeance. Ruin, dishonor, mob violence, terror.
Anna looks at Feraldo differently now. Sees strength, potential. Love has changed her, killed the revenge instinct.
She asks Feraldo, do you know what's in this letter? Reveals they want her to kill him for revenge.
She can't believe it. She shows him the letter. He sees the Jesuit treachery.
Anna asks him directly, what will you do? An alliance is forming.
The script notes the hidden rivalries within the Jesuit order, between the apparent leaders and the real power brokers.
His rivalry is kept secret, but might explain why rogue actions sometimes go unpunished. Useful deniability.
Anna asks Carlos, then do you accept the plan against the Jesuits, presumably?
Carlos weighs his options. He's in her palace, surrounded by her people. He answers decisively, I will obey.
She gives him a ring, writes a sealed note for Eusebio. His response will decide their next move. A meaningful look passes between them. Anna waits, resigned but brave.
The final scene. Anna tries to disarm Eusebio's suspicions. Jokes about poisoning him, drinks from the cup first.
Eusebio has to drink. Tastes nothing strange.
But the moment he finishes, Anna's demeanor changes completely. She accuses him harshly. You told me to poison the cardinal.
Santa Severina dismisses Eusebio's denials. He trusts Anna now.
Eusebio's enraged, but then the poison hits him. Violently. He realizes the horrifying truth.
Anna confirms it, cold and calm. She poisoned them all herself, the cardinal and Eusebio. Why?
To stop Eusebio boasting about condemning them after their deaths, and because she couldn't live under constant Jesuit threat, she chose her own end after seeing her tormentor die.
Eusebio dies, gasping, condemned. Anna remains serene, majestic almost.
Santa Severina isn't distressed about his own death. He's moved by Anna's sacrifice, her final act of defiance, and perhaps love.
Wow. What an ending to these excerpts. Thank you for joining us on English BookCast for this deep dive into Ernesto Mezzabotta's The Black Pope, Intrigue, and Power.
It's been quite the journey through 16th century plotting and power plays.
We've seen ruthless ambition, the deep reach of religious orders, loyalty tested, betrayal, just incredible drama and consequence.
The twists are really something, leaving you wondering about the true motivations and fates behind the history.
Absolutely. We hope these glimpses offer some insight into those timeless themes, power, faith, human nature itself. If you want more, definitely seek out the full book. Mezzabotta weaves an intricate tale.
We'd love to hear your thoughts on these excerpts, too.
Yes, please share them. And remember to join the English BookCast channel. Share our discussions. It makes a difference.
It really does.
So, as a final thought to leave you with, how much have things really changed? Consider how the manipulations, the blending of personal ambition with political and religious power we saw in the 16th century, how might those dynamics echo, maybe in different forms, in our world today?
Something to ponder. Until next time.
Thanks for listening.